years.
4 more years. 4 more years.
Hey! It's a whole new pod, the podcast all about Disney Channel original movies. We've been doing it, not first. Maybe not even necessarily longest, but a decent amount of time. Because it has been 4 years that we've done this podcast.
That's pretty wild.
Hello, I am Lucas Melby.
Is this our day?
Introduce yourself first.
I am Jacob Telejohn.
Jacob Telejohn. This is the 4-year anniversary of when we released our first episode when we're recording right now.
Yes, gotcha.
So I think that's about as good of an anniversary as we can have. Because I think technically we've recorded, I don't know, the first episode. Probably, hey, we don't have great sounding episodes all the time. I at least called that out in the last episode. I blame Dustin. I think Dustin is a curse on us doing this podcast.
I mean, you're not.
Last episode we lost power, or his previous episode we lost power. Now
audio issues,
but we're still rocking the 11-year-old
we're back, baby.
Laptop. But yes, 4 years of doing a whole new pod. That hit me, and I'm like, That's cool.
We've
done it for 4 years.
4 years. I don't know. I would say we're less than a year away from catching up.
True. We are not likely to continue for 4 more years.
You don't want to do another pod after this?
We'll continue, I think. I mean, I'm saying that now. Maybe my tone will change.
Oh my, I hope not.
This
is what I live for. This gives me hope.
You put a lot of effort in for what you live for, then,
This
Jacob.
gives me hope.
I think, at the very least, or maybe at the most, we could do like a monthly episode once we get through all the new movies. And whenever they release.
I mean, as long as they keep releasing new Under Wraps movies.
Yes.
Zombies movies.
We'll be covering all of those DCOMs. Yeah, we got maybe a good solid year if we keep a good pace.
We'll be
maybe a little bit more than a year to get through all of the
We'll be 30.
DCOMs.
And then we can start.
Wow, Jacob, you just really making the time set in.
We can do a spin-off podcast when this finishes called 30 Under 30, where we highlight the
I don't think
30 actors or actresses under the age of 30 and like their
I don't think we're allowed to use that name, and B, that premise sounds creepy.
What? I mean, you could talk about Julia Roberts.
You can helm that episode. Maybe I'll guest occasionally.
30 Under 30. We talk about the careers of actors and actresses and their movies that they made under the age of 30.
No,
Tom Cruise and all his movies.
Oh, I thought it was only actresses that I heard.
Actors and actresses.
But that's not what we're talking about on this show. We're talking about Disney
Channel original
movies.
Yes.
And we're maybe encountering one that's going to challenge that definition, because the movie we covered today,
it's like 3.
Frenemies. Is it a movie?
Nah, it's an anthology.
It's breaking new
3
ground
movies. Yeah.
For Disney Channel.
Breaking Bad.
Where this movie is, as Jacob just said, it's 3 parts. Sort of an anthology, but it blurs the lines enough that it comes off as a little bit more of like a Love Actually kind of movie, where there's lots of characters, lots of little storylines, and they intersect, in this case, a little bit. And yeah, I guess we'll just get into it. I feel like there was something more I wanted to say, but our episodes, our intros are never momentous, and even 4 years, like whatever. That's too long to be doing this, so let's do at least one more year. Let's see it through. That's what I've said in previous episodes. I don't care if nobody listens. We at least have bigger numbers than Chic does.
Let's
at
go.
Their start.
Yeah, they only have like 4 viewers.
And we'll see this all the way through, and then we'll cover Good Burger.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
So, Frenemies, kind of a first in that it's an anthology of sorts. It's going to be 3 different stories, but there's a framing device that comes from the biggest actresses in this movie, which is Zendaya. Maybe you've heard of her.
From the Spider-Man movies.
And Bella Thorne. Also, maybe you've heard of her. A little more of a controversial figure than Zendaya, and probably falls into the kind of thought.
Oh, Lucas.
It's a Freudian slip.
You might know her from her porn videos.
Well, it's a very crude way to... She's famous for having a very successful OnlyFans page. Ooh. And I was going to say that she would maybe fall into what people often think of Disney Channel child stars that grow
becoming
up in
naughty people.
You know, Lindsay Lohan, Miley Cyrus, where they have a little bit more salacious adult careers in more ways than one, maybe in this case. But at this time, both Zendaya and Bella were on a show called Shake It Up, which is a show that I knew about very much in passing because I was a big fan. I think I talked about on another episode, Gravity Falls, great show. And
I've liked the episodes
used
I've
to be
seen.
on, well, it's not on anything right now, but it was originally on Disney Channel and eventually got moved to Disney XD. And the episodes would be very infrequent, and sometimes I would just stumble across them or I'd know about them ahead of time. And as is often the case when you're wanting to watch a show or a movie, happens a lot with wrestling, being like, what's the USA Network showing ahead of Raw? Oh, it's Shooter again.
Oh, no.
It's The Accountant starring Ben Affleck. I saw an episode, or the end of an episode of Shake It Up, where it's like they're part of a dance troupe or something. But in this episode, they went to Japan. And it was very much, they did not went to Japan. And from what I saw of it, it seemed arguably offensive of very like Japanese stereotypes of what happens when you go to Japan. Kind of like the episode of iCarly where they go to Japan. And that won't be the last time I reference iCarly in this episode. So they're the main names in this, but oddly enough, they're only about in a third of this movie, maybe.
I would say half.
Maybe like 40% of the movie that they're carrying.
I'm more than that because they're in it a bit more. I think I don't know. They're in a little in the first story,
and then
they are the second story,
yeah,
and then quite a bit in the last one.
And since this will probably be a pretty short episode, because we essentially have 3 stories, none
Correct.
of them really have the weight to apparently carry their own movie, so they just shove all 3 into one. And none of the other actors or actresses are really like Disney Channel stars, so it seems weird that they have 2 stars from a current show, but they're not giving them their own full movie.
Yeah, I don't know why.
But going into this movie, and we'll have another Zendaya movie later on.
Oh,
Zapped.
really? Ooh.
As often, I think the kind of thoughts you have as you're falling asleep or in the shower, where you're like, "Oh, that seems like a really good idea," and I had a whole idea where I was like, "I'm gonna get into contact with Zendaya's people, and I'm gonna pitch." Interviewing her for the show, and essentially my pitch would be, we have no audience whatsoever. This just could be a fun thing. Nobody will even know about you being on the episode because we can't promote for shit. Nobody knows about us. It'd be a fun thing. And then I was like, oh, I'll just DM her on Twitter. And of course, you can't. Her DMs aren't open. So I'm like, I don't know how to contact a celebrity, so that's all we got. Well, I guess let's pay Kyle Massey some more money and put him on the
You're watching. This is Kyle Massey, and you're watching a whole new pod talking about frenemies.
So I guess since we can't promote ourselves, we'll put the vibes out into the universe.
Yes,
Zapped.
make it happen.
Let's get that interview so we can talk about what the process was for filming a third of a Disney Channel original movie here. So, yeah, this is a bit of a cringe story, especially Jacob saying, like, we're almost 30, and be like, please, Zendaya, let me talk to you.
Hey, they're not that much younger than us.
But I think it'd be a fun interview, because she probably hardly remembers anything about making some of these
maybe
movies.
she had some really bad experiences on set. She could remember all of it.
Yeah, be like, you can give us the dirt on Bella Thorne. Nobody's going to hear this. Okay, so Frenemies. We get a little bit of narration at the start from these two to be like, hey, frenemies, right? Well, other people can be frenemies too. And let's start off with our first story. And that is about Nick.
Yes.
No, his name's Jake. I think he's played by a guy named Nick.
Yes. It's the first story is simply titled Jake and Murray.
Wait, do they actually have title cards?
Well, there's Jake and Murray, Avalon and Haley.
Oh, that's what they split them up on Wikipedia.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
There's written credits of Act 1, Act 2, and Act 3. Or the movie is also apparently based on a book, which I don't know how that fits in. But this is about
Jake Logan, played by Nick Robinson.
Yeah, both of his names are so generic that I couldn't even tell which one was real.
And his dog's name is Murray, but its real name is Winston. So there you go.
These are the facts that you come here for, because you definitely couldn't find them with cursory internet searches like Jake.
You wouldn't want to. You wouldn't go out of your way like we do.
And this is also maybe kind of a first for Disney Channel that we get a dog fart joke. Two, unfortunately.
And then a pee joke. So what a movie.
So Jake he needs to get up for school, but he's sleeping with his dog and he's not getting up, so the dog farts in his face.
And he gets up. He said,
funny.
Murray. That's the Joker.
Okay. And the whole thing is Jake is a little too close to his dog. They eat breakfast together. They walk to school part way, but Murray's got to go back home because they don't let dogs at school. And that's about as deep as the story goes, is this guy's just a little too close to his dog. But he's also
They're best
smart.
friends. They're friends.
But are they frenemies yet?
Not yet.
So he's a smart kid also. And
Very smart.
The essential conflict or story for his portion is that hot girl in his science class, Julian, approaches him and asks to do their science project together because they need to pick a partner. And in kind of a surprising turn a little bit for a Disney Channel movie, it's that she is actually a mean rich girl.
Yes.
Isn't really redeemed at all. She's just using Jake because he's smart to get a good grade on the project.
So, yeah, like there's somebody else in his class. I don't know if it was one of his buddies, but one of his buddies also tries to pair up with him. He's like, oh, no, you're just going to use me like you did last time to, you're not going to contribute anything. But as soon as this pretty girl comes up, he's like, oh, hey, yeah, you want to date me?
He's you want to be me?
You want to be my partner? You want to actually contribute work on this project?
And because they're best friends, the dog, of course, needs to get introduced to this girl. And the dog, he knows what's up.
He can smell her shit.
And really, we're probably going to fly through a lot of these storylines.
Yeah.
So the girl doesn't like the dog. The dog's like sitting in her chair. So the dog essentially gets kicked out of the room. And he's like,
he's all sad.
I'm going to stick it to her.
What is fun is at the end of the movie, we see a lot of bloopers from this dog doing
you're just all over the
certain
place.
things. Well, there's certain things that happen, like...
Well, one of the things that we'll talk about in the bloopers seems to be a scene that wasn't even in the movie.
Not even in the movie, where he's trying to throw a controller,
which we've complained about bloopers for things that aren't in the movie before.
Yes.
But it's a little more fun when it's a dog, I guess.
Yeah, and I think that's all they were. There were two different scenes with the dog, trying to throw a certificate away, and then the phone in the garbage.
But to distract Jake from maybe learning that she's just using him, she starts to make him think that she
is attracted.
Likes him.
Yes.
She's talking about her lip gloss, puckering up.
We see her go out into the hall because she's getting a call from her friends.
Oh, that's actually, the dog just hears her on the phone.
Yes, and then he starts growling at her.
He's a smart dog, sometimes a dumb dog.
And so this is when we hear her say to her friends, oh, I'm just using him to get the grade. I just got to do this, and then I'll be, get my good grade and be out of there.
And then we had one of the greatest swings in opinions about a movie where Jacob says, I hate this movie. And then they go to a dog park where Julianne throws the ball very far, I guess, so that Murray runs out of sight and runs into our kind of tertiary character, third character of the movie, Savannah.
Savannah O'Neill.
She was a skater girl. I said, hey, I'll check you later, girl.
Yeah.
And Murray comes riding in on a skateboard.
That's awesome.
So Jacob immediately went, I hate this movie too. I love this movie.
That was pretty. We like dogs we like animals on skateboards.
He was not practicing proper safety, though. He did not have a helmet.
Did she ever have a helmet when she
had a helmet and elbow and knee pads.
Yes, I do remember the pads.
She was very safe.
Yeah.
But it's like, these are too many characters for this half-hour segment, probably. But
no,
because we weren't really clear at the beginning whether all of these were going to be disparate stories or if they'd cross over in some way.
Yeah, so we like you said, we went in blind. So we ended up actually seeing both these characters.
As opposed to how we go into most of these
we do end up seeing both these characters in the last story.
Yes. We get a little more about Julianne putting the moves on because she sends Jake a love letter, but the dog retrieves it and puts it in the toilet.
Yes. Yeah.
What you're about to say. So the dog knows her scent, and when he gets something from her, he puts it in the toilet.
Yes.
I think Julianne eventually finds out about this. Whatever. This is where next scene we find out the stories do cross over because she's given Jake a makeover, and Bella Thorne and Zendaya's character's name is Haley, and Bella's is Avalon. They see him in the hallway, and they're like, oh, she fucked you up. And they give him a slight makeover where they mostly just take off his scarf, and he has like an earring, and he mostly looks the same.
Rips his earring out, fluffs up his hair.
Earring,
yes, it is a
they're
fake
tearing out his
just rips it out. No, it takes off the earring, fluffs up his hair, I don't know. He basically looks the same. He looks like a rocker.
Yeah, he really doesn't look that different. And we get the best line in the movie as Julianne gets increasingly frustrated with the dog. She says, "You better send him to the pound or I'll pound him."
Yes.
Take that as you will.
Yeah. Yes.
We have also learned that Jake had gotten a certificate of some kind from NASA.
That he's very proud of. It means a lot to him.
For being such a smart kid.
Yeah, I don't remember what the meaning of it was.
No, it's very weird. And then Julianne steals it, covers it with perfume. The next day, shoves it through the mail slot.
Because she knows... She knew...
She was shown that, like, the love letter...
Yes. She sees the letter ripped up, and she's like, that was for you, you know? So she knows that the dog is...
Dog smells her perfume on the certificate.
Correct.
He's both smart enough to recognize it, but dumb enough to not to be like, I've already seen this certificate. Yeah. Because very cool certificate. And he puts it into the toilet, and Jake rescues it right before the dog flushes the toilet.
And this is one of the blooper scenes that we see the dog attempt to put the certificate in the toilet. I don't know, 10 times?
Yeah, and every time he failed, they beat him up.
They would beat him. They beat that dog. Sad.
So we get a very much Harry and the Hendersons. I hate you.
Yeah.
You're no longer my best friend. Get out of here.
How sad.
And Murray runs away.
Murray.
And he runs and finds the skater girl, Savannah.
See you later, girl.
And she takes him into the house because she, was introduced to him. We didn't really cover that because we were too busy talking about him being on a skateboard. But she's like, Murray, what are you doing here? Here, let me show you the yearbook. I love Jake so much. Oh no, don't tell him. I love him so much. And that's where it's pretty clear, like, oh, she's going to come back for another storyline.
Yes.
And she, at school, she kind of follows Julianne around and basically finds out she has a bunch of boyfriends or fake boyfriends that she's tricking into doing homework for her.
She's getting all these, the homework assignments, and she's kissing the boys. And she sees them, and eventually she gets them all, like, together.
And then Savannah kind of reveals it to Jake. Jake then puts it together that, like, he like, smelled the certificate after he took it out of the toilet and be like, that's weird. Oh, it's her perfume. It says a bunch of dumb shit. He still gives Savannah, or Julianne, the project, and is like, I'll get an A on my own. You can take all the work I've done.
But then the dog comes in.
The dog, who's not allowed at school, by the way.
Correct.
Shoves the project out of her hands. And in this scene, I think it's one of a couple of times where it seems to be not the same dog. Where it's like, we couldn't get this dog to jump or run correctly.
Did he talk about when he jumped over the fence?
Yeah, when he ran away, that was the time where
he fucking jumps like 6 feet in the air.
It was pretty
He's
crazy.
Flying.
So he pushes this project out of her hand, breaks it, and if that wasn't enough, then he pisses on it.
And then it short circuits and, like, starts sparking.
Yep, it was some kind of fan.
Yeah.
And I guess we could have described Murray. He's a shaggy dog. He's a shaggy
Tim
dog.
Allen.
Yes, he is the shaggy
dog.
And he's got a CGI tongue that licks around. And Jake says, "Hey, I like Savannah," and Savannah's like, "Really?" But then he also tells Murray, no girls coming between us, Murray. It's just me and you.
And then she's kind of like, awkward. No, well, the bully girl's kind of like, she's weird. She's very strange. And this is where Jake's like, I think she's amazing. I think she's absolutely amazing. She says, really? And this is like where they're just kind of like a thing now. Kind of.
But not really.
Not yet.
And we won't see exactly the conclusion to that because
they know of each other's existence.
That is the end of part 1, Act 1 of Frenemies.
It's over.
It ends with dog piss, as all things should.
Yeah.
God said, from piss you come, from piss you shall return.
How are we going to do the never remember?
I mean...
we'll figure it out. In the end... The friends are no longer frenemies.
So in this case, the frenemies were Jake and Murray, not Julianne.
Correct. So they were friends once again.
And this is where we're introduced to the framing device that hadn't come up, I think, really before.
So
where it cuts back from... Apparently, this was all being filmed on a camera.
Yes. That's how they like you said, that's how they frame it. So it's like the two girls...
It's like the scene transitions.
Avalon and Haley are recording this whole thing.
Yeah, it's like scene transitions in iCarly where they kind of bring up the web overlay, and this is for their website. Geekly Chic. And this was a story they did there, even though we'll learn that this is a fashion webzine, which is supposed to be like a magazine on the web, a fanzines, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But then they have a bunch of videos and stuff on this website. So it's more of just a website.
It's like a teen website.
And also, I guess there was slightly them fixing his fashion choices, but like the rest doesn't really have to do with geeks. Or I guess he is a geek, but not so much fashion. A lot of dog pics,
I don't know.
though.
They make him over, and then the premise how they get the tickets in the second one, they had promised a makeover, but it doesn't happen.
I don't even cover how they got the tickets.
There's they have a...
Well, let's
try on outfits.
So this is back to, or not really back.
Second story, second movie.
Zendaya and Bella, or Haley and Avalon. They have a webzine called Geekly Chic, where they're kind of a tag team duo, where Bella's the more... They both have good outfits, though I think generally I like Zendaya's more, but she's got some
I think Bella Thorne's character is the one that's giving the other one advice.
She gives the fashion tips.
Zendaya
Haley
runs the website.
Yeah, she writes the articles and stuff like that. The site seems to be horrible. It seems crappy, and then there's just a bunch of videos on it. But
they're able to check their traffic
very specifically,
and they see 4 dots, or they see 3 dots, and then a 4th pops up
because it's the two of them, Zendaya's mom, which technically should still be the same ISP
and then
address,
or
IP address,
and then one that pops up in New York.
Which then they get a mysterious phone call.
And they think it is Zendaya's brother.
Pranking them.
Yeah.
And his defining characteristic, well, he actually has 2. It's that he wears his pants down very low
so
because
you see his
he
boxers.
Is an African-American. Thanks, Disney Channel.
He's a different color than his sister. Different skin tone.
He is in love with his GPS tracking system.
Yeah, we see him.
Car GPS.
Which he calls J-Lo.
Yep.
That is a thing that happens.
Thank you, next.
Yes. So they get a call from Burns Publications.
Wow, you even remember the name.
And they think that, like you said, it's a joke. No, give me some credit.
Fraud. We're frenemies right now.
They think that it's fake, but then they see him outside painting a door.
Yeah, he's part of the drama club or something. They were doing set design. It was very dumb.
So then they know it's real.
So this not that great website gets discovered somehow by fashion publication editor-in-chief or whatever, and they get called in to meet with her.
To meet with Sherry St. Clair.
Oh, well, thank you, Jacob. Wow, your memory is just spot on.
Thank you.
Yeah, they go to Manhattan. The movie takes place in New Jersey, and they meet with this person, and she's like, "Oh, I thought I was only meeting with Hallie,
with one because
who's this other bitch?
She only cared about the web magazine designer or whatever." Yeah,
or also the person writing the story is.
Yeah, so she does not care about Bella Thorne's character. She's only interested in Zendaya,
and she was saying, "Oh, I want to take Geekly Chic again." A website that apparently has had like 4 visits in its entire lifetime.
She mostly she doesn't want anything to do with them, except like a little portion where she can talk about like teen stuff
to appeal to teens. But it's like you don't need to buy or take the brand or whatever. Yeah. It's such a hackneyed premise, but it sets up their frenemy situation where she can only hire one of them. They're both 14, by the way, so I think illegal. But to be a senior editor-in-chief, which would also be weird because everybody else that would be working underneath them would be adults. But she can only hire one of them, so
she gives them like a challenge to each write a different story, right?
Cover story.
And whichever one she likes the most, she'll hire on, I guess.
Yeah, and they have a week to do it. Cool.
Yeah.
And this has set them on the path.
This is where we
quickly become frenemies.
This is where we see the rich boy.
Yeah,
Walker.
You want to know something? I didn't take a single note about Walker.
So Walker, I think we see him in the first one too a little bit, don't we?
No, he just came up a little bit earlier in this one.
Okay. So Walker's he's in charge of like the school newspaper.
Yeah.
And he took Geekly Chic out of the paper.
They had paid him for an advertisement.
Yeah, it cost money. So he gives them the money back, and I don't know why his reasoning why he took him out, just to be a jerk. Even though they later established that he likes Bella Thorne's character,
so, hey, that's what
this
I
is
was
a weird
doing in high school.
Flirting.
All the girls I
passive
liked,
aggressiveness.
I was just mean to, and that's why I'm doing a podcast now about Disney Channel original movies with Jacob Telligent.
Yeah.
So he kind of comes into play because they both decide, hey, we want to interview this French singer who's doing his first U.S. show.
Jean-Franc.
Yes. And they both want to interview him. They both come to that same idea, and Bella gets a hookup from, I keep on calling him Walker. He does a little funny bit where he's like, oh, my cousin knows the sister of the dry cleaner who does his blah, blah, blah.
Get to the point.
And he hooks up Bella Thorne with the tickets, and Zendaya doesn't have an in then because the show is all sold out. But then she takes Bella's phone at one point because they all have to hand them in to the teacher in class. And then she calls the singer to say like, oh, I'm calling on behalf
and she's doing like
Bella.
A weird accent where she's trying to be...
She's doing a French accent for some reason.
No, she's doing Spanish because she thinks he's speaking in Spanish.
No, it's supposed to be a French accent. She at one point says "si" and realizes, I mean, we.
Yes.
But it's like, why did she need to pretend to be French?
And then he's commenting back to her like, oh, I see you with a weak French accent. You can just speak American to me.
In this point, I think he only is actually speaking in English.
He is.
Or, no, sorry, in French. He's like saying, très bien, and then he's yelling at his maid in the background.
Who keeps unplugging his guitar. So she sets it up so the ticket's ready for her to be picked up at the venue.
Yes. But then...
for the interview.
Bella learns about this with Walker.
Because they catch her in the room.
She's calling in the band or...
Yes. So they catch her. So at one point, so they're neighbors. And we see them, and they were neighbors. And we see them, they do the shades up or whatever.
They do a fun little cute thing where their windows are right next to each other.
And so they call, and they do, hey, shades up. So they lift him up, and there's fucking Walker, but his two buddies are with him inside Bella Thorne's bedroom.
We haven't established. He always has two guys with him.
And they never really talk.
And
they don't
it's kind
do
of
anything.
A funny thing that they're still with him here.
Yeah.
There's some funny stuff.
Fun stuff. And then Walker just tells her, just shut the shades. So they're aware that each has maybe tickets available?
Well, no, because now Zendaya has Bella's tickets. She had them put into her name.
Yes.
But then Bella tries to stick it to Zendaya because she sneaks into her brother's...
GPS. And
it sets it to Urdu. So when they're trying to get to the concert the next night or that night,
it's in a different language.
They can't figure out the directions.
Although they get there somehow.
So then Bella gets there with them, and she says that she's Zendaya, so then she gets the tickets again.
And then starts the interview.
I thought it was originally set up that she was supposed to interview him after the show, but now she's interviewing him before the show.
She wanted to do a pre-interview or something, I don't know.
Zendaya eventually gets there because they bust out some regular maps.
And she sneaks through a window and he says, oh, my first American fan. Oh, oui, c'est très bien.
And Bella had been interviewing him, but her questions weren't very good because she wasn't the writer. And then Zendaya starts to interview him, and she has much more pointed and interesting questions for him. And then they're fighting some more. Then he
gets pissed. He's like, yo, girls, settle down.
And he lets slip his fake French accent because he was a frenemy of himself.
And he's like, yo, my name is Johnny Frankowski.
It was some kind of play on acoustic or something.
Yeah, it's Frankowski.
And then, I don't know, they set it up. Oh, yeah, just be real to yourself. So he's like, I'm going to go play acoustic guitar. And then we don't really know how that goes for him.
We should have seen him get cheered or booed.
So then they collaborate on the story, they make up, and they turn it in, and the publisher...
She really likes the story.
And she says, who wrote it? Where's the other one? And they're like, we both wrote it. And she says, fuck you.
Yeah. And then like Zendaya tries to be like, I don't know, maybe it's Bella, I don't know. One of them tries to say like, oh, we don't need you. We're going to go to a bigger fish in the pond or something. I don't know, something like that.
Some made up.
And then she's like, what do you mean by that? And she's like, I don't know. It just sounded good.
I forgot to call out another great line along with, if you don't take your dog to the pound, I'll pound him. At one point, they're talking about how we used to be BFFs, and Zendaya says, best friends for never.
Ooh.
But now they're BFFs again.
So Walker comes back into play here, though. He knows yet another person who knows somebody else's tennis player that knows somebody's aunt's cousin's sister.
I think it's for Teen Now.
Teens Now, yes.
And they want to do a story about Geekly Chic. Again, a website nobody knows.
They have 4 viewers, 4 visitors.
But then they're on some kind of Entertainment Tonight show for like their story, or I don't know. Like they kept it real, and then they're partying and jumping on their bed in excitement. But then the TV lady says, "Don't jump on your bed."
Yeah,
like,
she knows. Yeah, it was very meta or very. Magical. I can see you.
Is this a magical DCOM?
Yeah, pretty magical. The dog jumps 7 feet in the air.
They're receiving messages from the television.
like I said, they would check their counter, their count map thing, and there was all these blobs, and they said, "We're gone global."
But it was only web hits from the United States that they showed. So
we've gone regional.
They're about as global as A Whole New Pod, where most of our YouTube traffic comes from like only North America.
That's fine.
And mostly the United States, because Disney Channel isn't really available in other places.
Yeah.
Or even Disney Plus.
Yeah.
I think maybe it's more global now, but for a while it wasn't.
So that's basically the rear end of that one. They're friends now because their sites took off. We did get I think outfit montage at some point. We see like a little kind of music video in this.
Yeah, that was one of the weird videos for their webzine.
But we do get a outfit
format
montage.
That's supposed to mimic a printed magazine, but they're just showing a video of Bella Thorne in front of bad green screen in different outfits.
Yeah.
So it does not fall into a wardrobe montage, because that has to be very specifically you're trying on clothes, not just having different clothes.
Fair enough.
That's how I'm saying I don't like this movie enough.
Fair enough. I'm yawning.
All right, my note is, all right, next story.
So this is the Savannah and Emma story.
So remember Skater Girl Savannah.
Savannah O'Neill and Emma Reynolds.
Her premise is she has a secret twin, but it's not actually a twin.
A doppelganger. Or alter egos.
It's never explained. But
both roles are played by her, so it's not like an actual twin.
It's set up that she sees Jake with Murray, and then she crashes on her skateboard, so then Jake can't see her, so then he walks away, but then Murray comes up.
And Murray sees a limo drive by.
Yeah.
Which has Emma Reynolds in it.
Who looks like Savannah.
Yes.
And the dog goes, "Woo?"
The fuck?
Woo?
I like
Tim
that.
Allen?
Yeah.
I don't... I need to have it in...
Very good, very good.
How it sounds. And then we kind of just go... You can kind of see where it goes from here, and it even falls into even more explicit, like, they just do sister-sister.
They go to the mall.
In our case, Twitches, where they run into each other at
shopping.
A clothing store.
Yes, and this is exactly what happens here. Savannah's given $20 from her father to buy food, but she says, I'm going to get me something pretty, shoes. So she goes to buy herself $10 shoes.
At this seemingly nice clothing boutique.
Where the rich girl is shopping with
Emma,
her butler, her awesome butler. I like him.
They both have British accents for some reason in New Jersey.
Yeah.
So we don't ever figure out why they look exactly the same, so it's not a switched at birth or separated at birth kind of thing at all.
It's just, they're just, yeah.
Because at one point, Emma's mom, or the dad says, I think we'd remember if we had two daughters.
What's funny, too, is Avalon and Haley are aware of these two looking alike.
They're at the store while they're both at the store.
They're like, oh, like, isn't that, wow. And
Zendaya's
looks like her.
They look like each other. Isn't that her? No, this is Avalon. Or no, sorry, Avalon's like, that's Emma, blah, blah, blah. That's Savannah. I'm like, oh, thank you that we just have these in-universe characters to give all the exposition for us.
So they meet, or actually the butler confuses the one.
Yeah, whatever.
It's very confusing.
It's just like sister or Twitches.
So they have some lunch together.
Family.
They have some lunch and like, oh, I would love to live your life. I would love to live your life. So then Savannah Avalon and Haley suggest you guys should switch.
It's very funny where they weren't seemingly sitting with them and then they disappear out of their table and be like, this would be a great story. You guys should switch.
So they go to the bathroom, they change.
Jacob at this point has been amazed by their ability to have the same actress play.
I thought it looked pretty good. Like,
it is the same actress. It's
I thought they did a really good job.
It's not a sister situation where there's two sisters. It's just the same actress.
Yeah, but no, I thought they did a good job of having them both on screen at the same time. I thought it looked pretty cool.
So they switch places. Comedy ensues.
Now Emma has the skateboard, which she's obviously never been on before, and she falls down. And Savannah, on the other hand, is having to she's coming into situations, where she needs to be more proper and stuff. And
oh my God, she's eating snails. And then she has to have fencing lessons and ballet lessons.
Yeah.
Wow, being rich, it's just so great. Disney Channel.
Emma,
as much as you try to hit that message home, we're not gonna buy.
Well, Emma's in Savannah's house getting like pelted by a gun, I don't know, Nerf bullets from her brothers.
Her family has...
She's calling her dad father, I guess what she normally calls Pops, and he's like, what the hell is going on?
Like a regular
Call me
Jacob
Papa.
Telejohn.
Call me Papa.
I like it when you call me Big Pops.
Yeah.
And she's got 3 brothers, and they're just obnoxious, monstrous children.
Yeah, they're kind of jerks.
Savannah calls them food monsters at one point because they ate all of her breakfast.
So they're starting to realize already that they don't really like each other's lives, but they don't want to switch back because
there's a bit of a boyfriend mix-up situation.
Each gets introduced to a boy.
So Emma has a rich boyfriend named Lance, who is a polo player. He is not British though, but he has some eyebrows. Extremely full of himself.
Yeah,
I think you liked him a lot, Jacob.
I thought he was actually a pretty good actor. Like he was, I don't know. I thought he was pretty funny. I think he had a lot of charisma. He was just like, I don't know. He wasn't. I don't know. I thought he was. He does
a lot of. Later on, he's like, "You're almost as hot as me." Actually, no. I'll say you're hotter now. Yeah, okay, I'll give it to you.
I thought it was a good.
It's very played up, but
funny.
I mean, in Frenemies, you got to take what you can get. So he was pretty fun.
So yeah, so you see Savannah going on.
Well, Emma as Savannah.
Yeah.
Hooking up or kind of setting up.
It's
and
very
finally
confusing.
Talking with Jake because Savannah was always too scared to do it.
Yeah.
They seem to be at the same restaurant for some reason, and that's where they're like, "Hey, I'm going to throw a towel at your head so that you come over here," and be like, "Fucking stay away from Jake." And then she's like, "Well, I'm going to stick it to Lance now. We're frenemies." That's the name of the movie. They don't say that.
They do say that in the first story, though.
Do they?
Frenemies.
So that's where they become frenemies here.
Yeah.
Because of boys, am I right?
So, yeah, they do some stuff. They go to the park.
And they see each other, and that's
they
where
encounter. Like, oh, hey. And so, like, they already know each other, obviously, but the boys don't know that this is going on.
And they say, "Oh, let's have a double date. I'm having my birthday ball."
Yeah.
But that's my birthday ball.
Yeah.
My favorite thing to do is a birthday ball. And we're already at basically the end of the movie.
Yeah, they have the birthday. She breaks up with Lance because he's just a tool.
And this is where we get the, "Ooh, you're almost as good looking as me."
Yeah.
Actually, no, I'll give it to you. And Savannah as Emma says, "Fuck you. You're only in love with yourself." Here,
gives him like
your new partner
a tray, like a reflective tray. So he's broken up. And then we see her come across.
Her parents are like, "Two?" And then she's like, "I broke up with Lance. Are you mad?" "No, I fucking hated him."
Yeah, she wanted to break up with him a long time ago. And this is where...
And Jake's like, "You look good in a dress."
Yeah, then she lifts up her dress to see her shoes or something.
And then Zendaya and Bella Thorne are there.
Then they start dancing. Everybody's dancing on tables.
Yeah, this movie goes pretty wild at the very end because...
The end was fun.
Actually, first what happens is Jake and Lance get into a fight, and then Lance kind of tries to punch him or tackle him, and he crashes into a chocolate fountain that was at this party.
That was good. Yeah, he has his white suit on, and he just gets covered. And then the opera singer gets covered in chocolate, too.
Yeah, there was an opera singer there. That's when we see Bella Thorne.
Their house is huge.
To be like, "Oh, nope, the party's not ruined." And they have Zendaya's brother, who, I mean, we already established... He's black, and we're at a rich white people's house.
Yeah.
I don't think they'd be excited about all these...
He brings all the hoods.
These ethnic teens entering their house. They'd be like that Missouri couple that, during the Black Lives Matter protests, were just standing in front of their giant mansion with, like, guns or whatever. But here they're excited. All of these who weren't invited to the party just come in.
They're literally dancing on the tables.
There's a giant dance party. We get, like, choreography and stuff like that. And we thought it would be a song by either Zendaya, because I think she had kind of a Disney music career, or Bella Thorne. It's not by either of them. And it's, kind of a fun dance party.
Yeah, it's like a few minutes.
At one point, there's choreography where everybody's kind of jumping on skateboards. And then they lift up the skateboards, and all at the bottom of the deck spells out skate.
S-K-A-T-E.
Isn't that what you do in Tony Hawk? Don't you collect skate letters?
Yeah, yes.
So... You've met that challenge for the level at the rich mansion.
What a weird deal.
And then the
parents love tacos. And they're going to have Taco Tuesdays.
Yes. At one point, Savannah as Emma was like, "Well, couldn't we just have a taco truck for my party?" Apparently, they do get one. At one point, the white dad says, I don't know what tacos are. And he says, tacos are great. We should have these every Tuesday. So white people invented, well, they probably did invent Taco Tuesday.
Yeah.
And then we probably get a pull up onto like that iPad screen again. And then they're like, Frenemies, am I right? And that was this movie. And we already talked
bloopers.
about it ending with the dog bloopers. Starting off with the toilet scene, and then it switches to a scene where we don't seem to remember the dog taking Savannah's phone and putting it in the garbage, but we see about 10 takes of the dog not putting it in the garbage. But we then finally see the one where he does put in the garbage, which made us think that the scene wasn't in the movie, and they just wanted to show us the cathartic release of the dog
who fucking knows?
Achieving putting it in the garbage. And that was Frenemies.
How long are we in?
We're a little over 40 minutes.
Oh God! No, we gotta.
So this could be. I can't remember how short the Tiger Cruise episode was, but I guess we can give our final judgments first. I think this movie had some comedic stuff. I was not a fan of the fart jokes with the dog. Didn't really like the first story that much. I wasn't really a fan of. Probably the last story was my favorite. I think Zendaya and Bella were definitely the best actors in this, and I think I've probably should have talked about it more, especially if we want to put out the good vibes of Zendaya coming on the show. But I mean, I think the world is generally a big fan of Zendaya, and she comes off as very charming in this, even if her story is kind of whatever. And then, there's some funny jokes here and there.
Yeah,
it's a 90-minute movie where it feels like it doesn't justify its existence, and
it's just different from what we've done. I didn't not like it. I don't love it. I don't love the movie. It's not like, I don't know, it's not nothing special, but it wasn't like terrible. I was entertained. It was okay. It was okay. It's subpar, below 500, maybe a 400 movie. 400 out of 1,000.
What kind of metric is that?
I don't know.
I don't even know if that's top 400 or bottom 400 of 1,000.
It's fine.
Jeez, that's even more. I mean, it's 2 thumbs out of 5 stars.
Oh, I'm tired. I need a nap.
It is. I've been kind of a long week for me too.
Yeah.
We're Minnesotans, and if you live in Minnesota, you talk about the weather. We talk about the weather plenty on this show.
Fuck, man, it's like 30s out right now.
But earlier in the week,
it was like
2
70.
or 3 days ago, it was in the 70s. So
it'll be 70 degrees next Wednesday.
My body doesn't do great with the ups and downs and temperatures. It kind of gives me like tension headaches and shit. Our
high next Wednesday is 70 degrees, and on Thursday it'll be 25 degrees.
Give me the hourly rundown.
No, I'm no Mark Torello. I'm no Mark Torello.
He's not even in Minnesota anymore.
It looks like it's going to rain next Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
It might even snow tomorrow.
I think he's in New York.
I think he's in Boston, actually.
No, he's in Boston. Huh?
For all of the Mark Torello fans, listen.
Didn't know that.
But yeah, I just kind of had a stressful week at work too, so that's a good excuse for this to be a shorter episode.
Never forget, remember, never...
Could anybody in this movie have stopped 9/11?
I think yes.
Do tell.
I think Winston, you guys might know him as Murray. I think he could have pissed on the legs of all the hijackers and distracted them and
But then he pissed on the engine of the plane.
No, it crashes.
Murray.
Oh, Murray. Winston. Winston.
Coming into this movie, I thought it could have been like how we've sometimes described.
Murray just pees on everybody in the end.
We sometimes describe.
Was he at the party?
He probably ran in at some point.
Yeah.
But I don't really remember.
No, shame.
But we sometimes have talked about, like, this movie was like, if the members of Al-Qaeda watched this movie, we'd be like, yep, we're definitely hitting the Twin Towers. It's not that bad of a movie to justify terroristic attacks. But
so, I don't know if you saw the poster. Have you seen the poster for this movie?
I'm pretty sure.
So, does
it look like Zendaya's facing down with the dog? Or Bella Thorne?
So it has all 3 stories. So it says Geek versus Chic, and then it says Beauty versus Beast.
Okay.
And then Downtown versus Uptown.
So only one of those actually makes sense.
Geek and Geek.
No, Downtown versus Uptown.
Beauty versus the Beast. The dog versus the pretty girl.
But the frenemies are Jake and the dog. Because, okay, that's a little more tenuous, but like Zendaya doesn't really come off as a geek.
Geek and Chic. I don't know. Oh yeah, what do you mean? She has glasses. She's a nerd.
She can write well.
She's a computer designer.
She does have some nice glasses here.
Oh, yes.
Anyways, moving on.
Enough of that.
I was being a little Jacob there.
That's fine.
You can write us.
There was only one song in this whole movie, right? Just the end.
It
the
was
end
just
song.
Silence.
Stephanie Scott and Carlin Jeffrey and is it Posse?
Pose.
Well, it didn't have the goo on top of the E, so I don't know how to spell Posse. Isn't it the same?
Wait, so you're saying it has an accent on pose?
No.
Okay. Do you know how pose is spelled? Do you think that has
P-O-S-E, but how do you spell Posse? Is it the same?
P-O-S-S-E.
Oh, 2 S's.
He's not the geek in our lineup.
So I'll have to keep that in mind for Wordle, the 5-letter word.
Yeah, I think I've tried Posse maybe at some point. I think I got it in 2 the other day. Not today. I think it was yesterday I got it in 2.
Impressive.
Doing better. Lost my streak. Nobody cares about Wordle, but I lost on Mummy, I think. How can you put 3 M's in a single fucking word?
That one was rough. I didn't get that. I did get that, though. Should we say that this did get a pretty good reception viewer-wise? 4.2 million? I think that's pretty good.
In the grand scheme of things, I think even within the next couple of movies, it's not... It's fine. It's not super great, though.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that was a pretty good reception from the...
Maybe for 2012, but not in the grand scheme of things for Disney Channel movies overall. I mean, like, the High School Musical 2...
Good Luck Charlie did get 6.9 million.
Yeah, but that's a TV tie-in, so I'd say they weren't losing their minds.
Teen Beach movies coming up, 8.4 million. Yeah. That's like the highest that we'll ever see ever again.
Yeah.
That's the biggest deal.
Maybe one of the Descendants, I'm not sure.
No.
Not even Teen Beach Movie 2.
5.8 million.
Okay, see, nobody has TV.
8.4 million is the most we've seen since Wizards of Waverly Place, the movie, 11.4 mil.
So 4 point whatever, even at this point in Disney Channel and people cutting the cord, not that big a deal.
Yeah, I
and
suppose.
You know what else isn't that big of a deal? This podcast. But you can still write us at awholenewpod@gmail.com to tell us your own personal stories about frenemies you have in your life. Like Jacob Telejohn and me. I was going to make a joke that we could have called like our podcast Frenemies, but then Ethan Klein had already had a podcast at one point called Frenemies.
Well.
But the movie still predated that, so Geek versus Chic, am I right?
Geek versus Chic.
You can find us on various podcast platforms, Apple Podcasts, Google, Spotify, Stitcher. Rate us on anywhere you can. Find us on youtube.com/awholenewpod.
Find us on Twitter, AWMpod.
While Twitter still exists, who knows how much longer it's going to last, because it doesn't seem to be going too well for Mr. Elon Musk. That's how we say it, right?
Elon Muskie.
But maybe we'll make Dustin shell out $8 to finally get AWNP verified on there.
Yeah, let's go.
They said they were going to unsuspend all accounts, so maybe the old podcast handle is live again. I don't know if they've actually released the Kraken, so to speak. But... yeah, this has been such a short episode. I don't know if we're forgetting something. No pop to drink this week.
No whole new pop.
No.
We plugged everything.
No shitty loot box from Disney. I forgot to mention last episode. I saw other people's loot boxes.
They were better?
Disney crates on. I mean, none of them were like amazing necessarily, but mine was definitely the worst.
Oh.
Like other people had Aladdin stuff. I think the Aladdin ones came with like a little prop lamp, which is pretty cool.
That's cool.
Beauty and the Beast, there was some stuff which... it was similar to some of the Cinderella stuff, but Beauty and the Beast is one of my favorite movies of all time, so I would find anything I'd get for that. There were some that were just all Mickey Mouse stuff. Even, like, I could have selected one that seemed to be Marvel stuff, and I saw one that was a bunch of Spider-Man stuff. I still would have been happier with that than bippity-boppity bullshit that I got. But yeah, we're gonna call this a short one.
And we're done.
Happy 4-year to us.
Yeah, 4 years. Here's to 4 more.
No. No.
Radio Rebels next.
Before we go, though, if anybody actually made it to that point in the episode of the rough audio, hopefully it didn't come through on this time. But Jacob, do you have a more nuanced take, a check-in about kids named Steve?
Oh, shoot. I don't know. About babies being
Jacob
named Steve.
Doesn't even remember.
No, I do. I said that I feel like kids are not born Steve. They just become Steve like when they're teens. It's not a baby name.
I told you to workshop it and bring it back in this episode.
I made my point.
Frenemies!
Zendaya is Michi, and LeBron James is Gwangi. Danny DeVito is Dorgo. Ooh, Common is Stonekeeper, and Zendaya is Michi. Gina Rodriguez is Coca, and Zendaya is Michi.